Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the lunchtime variety. It is something different. It's something technical. It's not about the mainstream ophthalmology per se, but for the mainstream ophthalmology to show up in its real form, nice form, we need to record. So I have this IC with my esteemed panelists. I think we can sit here, sir. So lunchtime variety. So Bollywood calling A to Z of all that you need to record and present in high definition. So we have a distinguished array of speakers. Dr. Ayon Mohanto, he is a prolific cataract surgeon and his passion is refractive surgery. He is technically sound and he has many innovations. And he is one of the lead cataract surgeons in Disha Eye Hospital, Kolkata. Then we have Dr. Saurabh Patbardhan. He needs no introduction. He's a prolific teacher and has conducted various live surgical sequence. Okay, so it's John. It's John in the sequence. Okay, John is from Kochi and he's all into the digital world. He has a lot of innovations and has conducted many workshops. So we will be learning from him from all those tricks. Then we have Dr. Saurabh Patbardhan. He's from Pune and he's a prolific teacher. We know about his surgical skills and extraordinary management techniques. And he's teaching through various live surgeries also. And we have Dr. Raju from Chennai. He will teach us about the nuances of fine vitreoretinal surgery, which I am not very conversant about. And Dr. Meghur will be joining us in some time, as he said. And we know about his beautiful video quality. I have certain, Dr. Ayon Mohanto can, okay, I'll start about the overview of the component system. So certain components with me, if somebody is interested of how things go, instead of the pictures only, the real things can also be handled. You can see them with your own hands. So let's begin. I will take the honors of giving the overview of the system. It is purely a technical talk, so to say. So why should we record? To improve ourselves and improve patient care. That's what we are concerned about. Research, present, and share. Unfortunately, medical grade recording devices, can we have the timer? Just a sec. Let's start. Medical grade recording devices often cost you dearly. So if you can afford that, fine enough. But we will be trying to show you something like commercially available implements which can give you reasonably good professional quality results. So overview of the system. To begin with, we have the beam splitter, reflector coupler, choosing the camera, focus and stop, what is the camera output things, connection the camera to the video overlay, then to the recorder, and then to the TV. Different recorders, 4K recorders, and the medium where we record. So the first kid in the block is the beam splitter. What does the beam splitter do? So this is the patient eye on the table. It is going out of the screen. No, you have to change your resolution. You have to change your 1640. Widescreen jo hai na? Your screen
resolution has to be changed.
No, sir.
It's out there.
Is that same with all the laptops. That doesn't.
Okay.
Now it's fine.
Now it's fine.
Now it's fine. Anyway, it is. I'll use a cursor. Here, the patient eye is there. From the eye reaches the beam splitter. As the name says, it splits the beam into two. About 80% goes to the 80-20 beam splitter means that 80% goes to the surgeon. This is the surgeon's eye here. This is the camera here. So what the surgeon sees through one eye, say the right eye of the surgeon, 80% goes to the eye of the surgeon, 20% goes to the beam splitter and to the camera. So this is a very important device. Usually the custom made can be taken, but if you take it of the original manufacturer from the who has got the microscope, that is the best one possible. Some 90-10 I have heard of, but I have not seen it. Slides are not moving again. I don't know why. What happened? Mm-hmm.
So is it a video or what?
There is no video in it. No audio, no video. Simple slides and pictures. Should I remove it and reconnect it?
So have you opened it in PPT or what?
Yes, standard my PowerPoint PPT. क्या कर रहा हूँ? What happened? Oh my God, it's not working. Just not
So
working.
do you have it?
I have it in another pen drive. The marker is not coming. Anyway, so beam splitter is the first segment. That is the best thing, and that goes up to the coupler. After the beam splitter, the light enters through the coupling device, which takes the light to the camera properly. So this is an AIOC beam splitter. This is an American company making it, no financial interest, and these are the Zeiss original beam splitters. It goes to the C mount. The arrow will not come. Pointer, no pointer. Great. So anyway, this is a pointer. Okay, it is coming. Ha, chalo. Forget it. So it goes to the C mount. This is the C mount. I have one C mount here. You can see these are the. This is the F340. This is the original Zeiss beam splitter for the full frame sensor. This is for the APS-C sensor. These are the local make ones. Now I'd like to say a few words about the stop. So this is the largest aperture opening. Now there's a stop here. You can see in this coupler there are a few figures here. What does the figure say? The lower the figure in the denominator, wider is the opening, and we have shallow field, more light entering, but the field is shallow. And if decrease the denominator increases, we have 22, that this aperture becomes very small. Video will not work. So as the number increases, you are controlling it? Anyway, so what does that mean? That means that if we have a small aperture, if we focus on the anterior capsule, both the posterior capsule and also the iris are all in focus. But as we increase the size of the aperture, it becomes wider, the depth of field decreases. So when we focus on the anterior capsule, the focus is only on the anterior capsule, but the posterior capsule and other things go out of focus. But it has to be titrated according to what is your light amount of light entering the sensor, this system, and is reflected onto the sensor. We also have this is the video. So usually a C mount is what is, we find it here. C mount is the industrial grade thing and is used in industry and the security purpose, but this is a commonly placed C mount. C mount has got a particular diameter of about 1 inch, and it is a screw mount. You have to thread the camera onto the place. Whereas in E mounts, you have the different company proprietary models have E mount is for the Sony mirrorless camera, which is wider, and it's a bionic mount. Camera settings, White balance, noise reduction, gamma correction, and automatic gain control, I think will be talked about. Now, from the camera, what does come out of the camera? Camera needs a power supply. You provide it from the battery or from an adapter. The output is from the HDMI, which has got 17 wires, or the SDI out. SDI out is a coaxial cable that comes out. If you are using a Sony camera for the full frame sensor, then this is the micro HDMI that comes out. So these are the outputs for the camera, and HDMI cannot carry the signal for a long distance. You cannot carry it from this building and have a show it at the Atlantis. It's not possible. The transmission has to be through the broadcast quality SDI. SDI is for long distance transmission, and there you can convert it from SDI to HDMI. So these are interconversion is possible. There are powered devices. The best company making it is the Blackmagic company. Now, beyond this, where the signal does go? You can just record it and show it on the TV. But if you are a teacher and if you want to document what are the parameters of your surgery, then one needs to have a video overlay. What does the video overlay does? That it has got two inputs, one from the camera, one from the machine. So it overlaps the picture of the machine settings on the video. So you can have, that is what the overlay does. It is the standard definition overlay. These are proprietary devices. This is the high definition overlay. High definition overlay will have a SDI input and output. Maybe these days HDMI is also there. Next, cable. If somebody is using an HDMI cable, take the best quality. Don't go in for cheap ones. So it has to be certified 2 or 2.1, 8K. Even if you are recording in 4K or 2K, it is better to take an 8K cable with 40 Gbps, 48 Gbps speed. Now, recorders. So from camera, we go to the overlay output. Now you can have the TV, but if you want to record it, how will you record it? Recorders. These are basically game recorders basically. This is this Evermedia company recorder, which records in 1080 and has got a 4K pass-through. It comes with a remote where you can, at the end of surgery, you can stop it and the file is created. But if you want to record in 4K, you have got to have 4K dedicated recorders. This is the Elgato device, and which does not need a computer. You can record in SD card, or you can have this Elgato devices which need the computer to record. Now we have certain HDMI high definition cameras, both for the slit lamp and also for the recording system. You can have it. This is a compact system whereby you can record in a micro SD card in the camera itself. It has got a remote, start, stop. ESC is a company who does it, and there are 3D Medicis is also a Indian company who do it. So beyond the beam splitter, these companies provide you a complete setup from the camera, the cables, the recorder, and the remote. So it's a compact thing. But in the modern day, if you are really inclined to record in 4K, then you need to have dedicated 4K recorders and 4K cameras. So this is a 3D Medicis system we provide 4K camera. They come out with recently. They have this dedicated system going for a 4K camera near 1-inch chip, and you have recorders here, which would directly record in the format in a device. So what are the storage devices you can store it? You can use a micro SD card with an adapter, with a SD card, or a magnetic recording device, or the solid state device. But one has to be really careful so not to drop it in case of the magnetic recorders, otherwise it will be spoiled. You can have a NAS storage, like you can connect it to your internet, and you can be anywhere at any part of the world and access your storage back home. Thank you. That's all. The next I invite Dr. Ayan Mohantu to give his talk on regarding camera selection and the details. Sorry for the hitch. Anyone wants to see the real things?
Slides,
it is present here. We can show them after the talk is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Devashish, for giving me this opportunity. I'll be talking on different cameras and their pros and cons. This was my topic, but I changed it to some extent to, first of all, clarify what exactly we are looking for in a particular camera, and then go for the cameras that are available. No financial interest to disclose. So what are the basic requirements for a good quality surgical video? Number one is the sensor size. So if you have a large sensor, more light is captured, the image becomes naturally more cleaner and richer. So these are the different types of sensors that are available, right from 1/3 inch to medium format, or the biggest sensor that is available is the 44 into 33 millimeter full size sensor. So now coming to the pixel size. Larger pixels means more light per pixel and less noise. Smaller pixels means less light, more noise at the same illumination. For example, if the illumination is same, with larger pixels the noise will be less, but in smaller pixels at the same illumination there will be more noise. So in retina surgery, under low light, pixel size often matters. So these are different types of pixel sizes. 1.2 to 2 microns are very small pixels which are usually found in smartphones. 2 to 4 micron sensor pixel size is commonly seen in many 4K sensors, and 4 to 8 micron are found in large, these are large pixels which are found in the even bigger sensors for better light capture. Now let us compare two cameras. One is camera A with a 4K resolution, and there is a camera B with a HD resolution. So the 4K camera has a pixel size of 1.5 microns. It will produce a noisy image compared to the HD camera, which has a lower resolution but a higher pixel size, giving us a cleaner surgical video. So the camera B may look better in real life surgery, better in real surgery despite of lower resolution. Now coming to sensor grid, small pixels versus large pixels. The sensor size might be same, but if you have more pixels in that small area, it will tend to produce more noise compared to lesser pixels in the same area will give you a cleaner signal. So large pixels capture more photons, higher signal to noise ratio, and cleaner surgical video. Now coming to dynamic range. What is dynamic range? Wide dynamic range is the camera's ability to capture in detail both very bright and very dark areas of the image at the same time simultaneously. So that is a very important property you should look for when you are purchasing your camera. Because in ophthalmic surgery, there is a very bright corneal reflex followed by a dark vitreous cavity, then shiny metallic instruments. So if your dynamic range is not good, your camera is not going to record good videos. So this is particularly important in macular surgery, ILM peeling, and vitreoretinal procedures. So now coming to the signal to noise ratio. It's measured in decibels. Higher signal to noise ratio gives us cleaner, darker areas. Like if you see the picture on the right, you have a lower signal to noise ratio, the whole thing is grainy. And signal to noise ratio becomes very obvious during low illumination 3D surgery and in peripheral retinal viewing. So if you have a camera with a higher signal to noise ratio in decibels, it is going to give you a clearer and less grainy picture. Then comes bit depth. Now what is bit depth? Bit depth is the number of colors and tones that one pixel can record. So it can be 4-bit, it can be 6-bit, it can be 8-bit. So bit depth is like a steps on a staircase. So if the bit depth increases, the differentiation between from one color to another becomes more smooth, and the transition is absolutely not visible. So from this end to that end, it is a continuous color reproduction, rather than in 8-bit, you can see all the separate columns. So it's required for more accurate retinal color reproduction, improved visibility of subtle membranes, and better performance during color grading. Now we know what are small pixels, what are large pixels. Now the image quality is actually a product of pixel size into dynamic range into bit depth. Now coming to different cameras. These are some cameras which are 3 CCD and 3 CMOS cameras, which are usually, we used to see them a few years back. And nowadays these are not much in use because they are very costly. These are the two cameras, two kinds of cameras which are most commonly used in our day-to-day practice. These are 1/3 inch single CMOS sensor camera with a full high definition video quality, 1920 by 1080. Then comes the 4K Ultra HD cameras with a bit of higher resolution. These again are very costly from Ikegami or Sony Medical. Then comes the integrated microscope camera systems, like the one you can see over here is the Zeiss camera that is integrated inside the microscope. Usually it's a Ikegami camera. Then comes the Sony mirrorless camera. To my opinion, this is possibly the best form of camera that can be fitted onto a microscope for recording very good quality videos, because it's a full HD camera. It may be 2K or 4K. There are options of you can switch between 24, 30, and 60 frame rates. It has a very large sensor, so it has naturally a better low light performance. It has an excellent dynamic range. As you all know, that SLRs are the best cameras available. It has a high bitrate recording, and it's often superior to basic medical grade recorders. Then comes the 3D heads-up and surgical camera systems like Ingenuity or Artivo, which are very cost prohibitive. It's not possible for everyone to purchase these systems, because these are 3D systems and hence without eyepieces, so naturally the cost goes up. So what are the optimal specifications for surgical video recording camera? The resolution should be optimal, that should be 4K. Minimum it should be 2K. Frame rate should be optimally 60 frames per second, minimum of 30 frames per second. Sensor size, optimally it should be more than 1 inch CMOS. Acceptable is 1 by 1/8 inch. Pixel size should be optimally 3 to 4, the more the better. Dynamic range should be optimally more than 70 decibels. Signal to noise ratio should be optimally more than 60 decibels. Bit depth should be 10 bit or a minimum of 8 bit. Resolution impresses the eye, but dynamic range and bit depth preserve surgical truth. Thank you very much. I think you will be dealing with, yeah.
12:45. Yeah, second one, second. Second, start the second one. Start the second one, not this. The second. Much, Dr. Devrat, for including me in this nice IC. I think. I think how many of you are using 3D or have tried 3D heads-up surgery? Yes, two of you, but would like to try definitely in future. It is something which is quite interesting. Okay. So I will just give you a brief about, because I think most of the technical topics like how to record 4K or what are the ways to do is covered by other talks. So I will give you some important things which we have to look into when going ahead with the heads-up 3D visualization system. So I have started using the surgical heads-up system since last 4 years, but before that I had made my own surgical recording system for recording it in 3D, probably 6 or 7 years back on my own. There is a difference between recording the surgery in 3D and doing a heads-up surgery with 3D. The main difference is that for recording, there is no issue of lag. So even if there is a lag of 200, 300, 400 milliseconds when we are recording surgery, it doesn't make any difference. But when you are actually operating, you should have that lag less than 80 milliseconds, and then only you will be able to operate without any issues. So on the right side, that's how I operate. So I operate all my cases, including cataract, retina, and all other specialties, using this 3D visualization system. There are certain very important things which this particular thing adds to it. One thing is that in heads up you are operating by viewing at a very large digital monitor. You can have 50, 65 inches, or even I have got one monitor which is 98 inches. So you can use any of them. Of course, even 34 inches monitor is most of the times enough, because it depends on how far you are keeping it. It requires high speed, high resolution cameras, which are actually attached to our regular microscope. And because we have to use high resolution and very fast cameras as well as processor, it increases the cost of the system. Usually we use the passive 3D glasses for this heads-up surgeries. It reduces the lag. Now, this is the future of microsurgery, because it adds a lot of things. Sorry, I'm going back. It adds lot of things because there is a processing involved in between. It can change the way you look at the surgery. Okay. So what are the problems with our conventional microscope? I think traditional microscopes are great, and if you see resolution wise, still the even the RTO or Ingenuity, the resolution, if you compare head to head with what we see through the microscope, it will be always lower than what we see through the surgical microscope. But most of these systems now have adequate resolution, so you can do the surgery very easily, and that is compensated by magnification and the depth of focus that the viewing system add to it. With traditional microscope, as you know, that as we do more and more surgeries with these, if we are not making sure of your ergonomic posture, we have neck strains. I know many ophthalmic surgeons who continuously have these issues. And also there is a limited view for the observers. That means whatever surgeon is doing, though it can be shown on 2D screen for others, but still they do not have the complete picture of what is being done. They don't have the depth perception. So one of the most important things for doing the surgical head shift, it avoids these surgeons' ergonomic problems and reduces the work related musculoskeletal disorders a lot. The neck pain, back pain, everything goes away. And of course it improves the career longevity of surgeons. Now what is the depth of field advantage? So I will just show you a clip. This surgeon is doing on the regular microscope, and of course with regular microscope there is always a focusing problem. But even when you are doing trenching and you are going deeper and deeper, you have to make sure that you focus it downwards on the depth of the trench. And many times if you are lazy to do that, many times you continue to work with a blurred image. But when you operate with a 3D microscope, what you can see here is that you can see the CCC which I am doing, the anterior capsule as well as the posterior capsule, both are in focus simultaneously. That means that kind of depth of focus you can have with these surgical heads-up displays, and that is because with cameras you can, I think he showed the role of the aperture. Okay, when you can, with your regular surgical microscope, if you reduce the aperture a lot, the light coming to human eye decreases, and our retina has limited capacity of adaptation to different brightness. But these cameras are much more sensitive. You can make them more sensitive. So even if you reduce the aperture size, the camera can still capture good amount of brightness, and that is how we control the depth of focus during the heads-up system. And that is very good because apart from doing a lot of surgeries under microscope, we also get fatigued by continuous adjustment of the microscope, which we do not understand on the go. But as we shift to the 3D surgical system, you find that you are not using your left foot a lot for focusing up and down, and you can go with the same flow. That reduces the fatigue of the surgery. So this is how I generally operate if it is cataract or retina. A large resolution TV, as I said, you can increase the TV size as per your need, and also we generally require less light luminance while doing surgeries, so patients are also more comfortable. Though most of the light sources that we use in our surgery are that way not so toxic for the retina, but of course when you are using it for prolonged time, it can cause phototoxicity. So this is reduced if you are using the heads-up display system, because you can. But I think the most prominent use for me using the 3D heads-up system is for the education and for teamwork. So like you can see here, I am attached my Ingenuity. I have added another source which is connected to a 3D TV, another 3D TV. and n number of my fellows or students or trainees who are attending my OT, they can watch the surgery which I am doing looking at the screen only. So whatever I am doing, all the observers are seeing the same exactly. So that kind of gives you an immersive experience, and that definitely reduces the surgical learning curve for my students and fellows. Another important thing which I realized as I started using Nginity is that many of us face this problem unknowingly. We do many surgeries, or some days, for example, a surgeon is doing maybe 3-4 surgeries in a day on an average, and suddenly there is a long list, say 7-8 surgeries are done, and then the surgeon gets lot of fatigue, even headache, okay, and feels there is a lot of eye fatigue or something like that. And that happens commonly because we overuse accommodation when we are operating, okay. That is quite clearly seen when somebody is recording that surgery with a camera. You always see that the focus is keeps changing, though you yourself are seeing everything clearly. That is because you are adjusting everything with your accommodation. But with these heads-up displays, what happens is that even if you accommodate a lot, there is no use at all, because the screen is at distance, and the screen, the clarity or the focus doesn't change based on your accommodation because it's already fixed. Okay, so what it does is that it stops that reflex mechanism of accommodating more and more. Okay, so your accommodation relaxes, and I have done this with some of my trainees, because some of the trainees, they struggle during surgery because of this same problem. They get accommodative spasm because of the stress, performance anxiety. They cannot focus on things properly, and that delays their learning a lot. So I shift them to 3D heads-up surgery first, ask them to do few cases on that. So that kind of breaks that that vicious cycle of accommodating more and more, and then when they are transferred to your regular microscope, they do quite well. I will skip all this part because already 4K and everything is being dealt with. With 4K recording, just I will add, because most of the other things will be discussed by other speakers. I will add why we should change from HD to 4K recorder. Like most of us, we have HD recording systems, and now 4K recordings are coming, and now they are becoming lesser expensive as compared to those medical grade and other cameras. Why we should shift to this 4K? I think one of the most important thing while operating, if you have a 4K camera, on screen also the observers can watch all the clarity. You can see the capsule, the zonules, all the microstructures. Even the observers can detect the complications very earlier, and also when you are presenting, you can show this quite well, and it's very useful as a teaching tool. So what happens when you record in a 4K? For example, this is a 4K recording, and I'm just showing that I'm hooking the anterior capsular rim with a iris hook. Now because it is recorded in 4K, even if I crop it down and make it 1/4 size, still the resolution is maintained, and I can still see the anterior capsule very clearly. So it is very useful for editing. So if you are particularly interested in editing and showing videos in the conferences, though most of these projectors are still HD, they don't have 4K projectors all the time, but still it is very useful for editing, so that you can zoom into the areas which you need to show, and it's very clear. Of course, I think these things are covered by other speakers, so I will just skip. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for the enlightening talk. This is most of us would dream to do someday. Thank you. Thank you very much for your enlightening talk. Over to Dr. Raju for about the retina specialty. So this requires certain fine-tuning of recording system and white balancing, which he will be talking about. Over to you, Dr. Raju.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for having me here. And regarding the 3D, I think going forward, we may be doing away with our eyepieces, most likely with the new AR, VR glasses coming up. Most of us may be wearing just a glass, which will have the screen in front of our eyes, and we'll be seeing the surgeries on a 200-inch screen or something like that. That's how the technology is moving forward. Maybe another 10 years or 5 years down the line, you will not be looking through the microscope oculars. With regard to the cataract surgery and the choice of cameras, we have discussed a lot. And when it comes to recording the retinal surgeries, we would want to see something like this on our screen or monitors when you want to present it. But if you want something like that, you require a very good microscope. That was a Leica top-end ProView microscope, and that was costing around 80 lakhs or 1 crore. But can mirrorless cameras match medical grade cameras? So what to look for? We already discussed the sensors. My experience is with Sony A7 series of cameras. The important qualities, apart from looking at the megapixel, is the low light sensitivity, high signal to noise ratio, and broad dynamic range. What exactly do you mean by this? Now look at this. This is a video of a candle that is there in the room. That's the only thing that is there in that room. Okay. Now we are not altering anything. We are not adding light. Just by increasing the ISO, you can see how in the video you can see so many details. We have not done anything except by changing the ISO signals. So this is how the camera sensitivity is. Next is the high signal to noise ratio. This is what sir was telling us. So if you see here, this has got a low signal to noise ratio. There is a lot of unwanted grainy image that you can see here in this image. This is because the camera sensor is not so good. Now what do you mean by broad dynamic range? You can see here there are dark areas as well as light areas. So both the dark areas and the light areas are well defined, and you can also see the moon here in this picture. So this will only possible if you have a camera with a broad dynamic range. So now I'll come to the nuances of recording a fine vitreoretinal surgery. Disclaimer is, it's not going to be a fill it, shut it and forget it type. Great photos are actually not produced by costly cameras, but by good photographers who know how to use the camera. So you should become master chefs. For creating great videos, you need to understand each ingredient of it. So the hardware required, we told you, the camera settings and the lighting during the surgery. So important aspects of photography is the area of interest should be centered and focused, the lighting should be appropriate, and we should understanding the settings to get great quality images under different lighting environments, especially in retina. So before you start off recording, make sure you clean all your microscope optics, set your eyepiece to 0, that's very important, adjust your IPD, and connect the camera to the TV or the monitor. Then do the focus adjustment. The surgeon view and the camera view should match. So what we usually do is, there's a focus ring that we showed you here. So what I usually do is, before I start my surgeries, we do a barcode, put it on there, and try to see what you're seeing. Now this is not focused. Now I focused it. Now I'll look at the camera as well as on the TV and on my microscope, whether both of them are equally focused. Only then your videos will be crisp. Next, the camera settings will depend on the type of surgery. For anterior segment surgeries, you don't have to fiddle much, but for retinal surgeries, we need to change settings. And settings need to be individualized for your setup and microscope. And most of the times, it's a one-time adjustment that you need to do. The camera, as far as the camera is involved, you have to understand that light, shutter, aperture, and ISO, these are the 4 pillars on which your recording is quality depends on. So the shutter speed is usually kept at double the frame rate. Suppose your frame rate is 25 frames per minute, frames per second, sorry, then your shutter speed should be 1/50. Then ISO is the sensitivity of the camera to the camera sensor to the light, and the more ISO you set, more grainy the image becomes. So you try always to record your videos at the lowest possible ISO. So this is my experience when I started out recording about exactly 10 years ago in 2016. This was my first shot on Sony A7S1. So I didn't know about anything about these things. I just started to record. You can see it's not so great retinal view. So I increased the ISO. Next time everything got flashed out, washed out. So then what we started to understand is to adjust the ISO based on view of live shots. So what we are seeing this, and this you can adjust it in your camera settings. So increase or decrease the ISO. As far as anti-segmental surgery is concerned, usually the ISO of between 400 to 800 is sufficient, and a frame rate of 25 to 50 frames per second will be most of the time sufficient. But you can capture at higher frame rate, then you can get those snapshots, a crisp shot now. If you want that, then you have to shoot at higher frame rate. This is the recording that we have recorded on the Sony A7S II cameras. So you can see here how well it is focused, and even if you zoom it or crop it, still the quality of the image is so well maintained. So we have not done anything, just I have cropped the image, I keep on cropping the image to show you how well it is focused. So I further focused it, cropped it, rather this is all done digitally. They are not done anything on a optical zoom, it's all on a digital zoom. So you are able to get this quality of crispness of images just by following the basics. Why shooting retinal surgeries is different? Because the endolight. So when you are using endolight, you are varying the distance of the endolight, and the gauge of the surgery also is changing. You have 23 gauge, you have 25 gauge, you have 27 gauge. The light also, the illumination also varies, and it also varies with the machine that we have. Then we also have the wide angle viewing systems. There are different optical elements of the wide angle viewing systems. Then again you have a fluid and air. So we are doing under fluid and air. So these are the various nuances that you face when you are shooting a retinal surgeries. So this is, I am showing you if you are shooting at a single ISO. Now I am doing this surgery, and you can see that everything looks more or less well, and I am going to peel this membrane, and when I am about to peel this membrane, now I am concentrating on that step. My light pipe has gone very close to the what I am doing. So what has happened is it has become very bright, and the images are not very clearly seen. Now when I remove this, again it comes back. So the reflectivity of the membranes is causing an issue there now. Now when doing under air, again it is fairly okay here in this case. This is another video showing you that if you have good lighting, so you will be able to shoot great quality videos here. Here you can see that this is again shot on Sony A7S II only, and we are just showing you proportional reflex use using cutter. I am just staining this macula there. So you will be able to shoot great quality videos that you can present in conferences. This is another video showing the epiretinal membrane. Again I have shot in regular HD, and this is just the cropped video. So we are able to crop the video to this level, and at the same time maintain the quality of the videos. And this I am not shot in 4K, I have shot this in HD only. But the camera is the Sony A7S II, which is a commercial camera, which we get it for at that time 2.5 lakhs rupees. So you can see that even though I cropped it up so much, you are able to maintain this. This is possible only if you take care of each and every part, the light, how you record, and the settings that are there that you need to take care. There are limitations. So how to get over those limitations? As they already showed you that you can use the iris diaphragm. So this is the iris diaphragm that you have here. So here, instead of changing the ISO settings, so what you can do is just reduce the aperture size. So when I'm doing the retinal surgery, if the image is appearing very bright on your screen, or you are not able to see the details, so either you have to go back and change the ISO, or you can just switch this knob here to the lower level, so that the amount of light that is going to the camera reduces, and you will be able to see here. This is the video that we have shot on this adapter. You can see here. So when I'm trying to do this part of periphery, so my light pipe is very close there. So the details are not very clearly visible. So now I should go back and ask my assistant to change the ISO settings on the camera, or what we did was, what I showed you was that use that
Stop.
that stop. So just change that, and you can see here that immediately the details become very clear.
That increases
And you
the depth
can-
of field.
Yeah, yes. So here again you will be able to define and show very nicely the cameras, the details. So if you have a good, what do you say, focus. So you can see here I have zoomed it up so much, still you are able to see the details so clearly in this in these videos, and all are shot in HD only. So which format to shoot? Again, there are different formats. So the quality and file size will increase. So as you shoot with a higher quality, the file size will also going to increase. Remember, as we told you, the quality of the image will only depend, is as good as your monitor. Suppose you are seeing this in a full HD or 4K monitor, your viewing experience would have been much better. So you need to invest on a good quality monitor for that. So I would like to acknowledge my dear friend Dr. Sumit Kanduja, and also Dr. Deepak Megu sir is here. So they were the pioneers who started off using these mirrorless cameras, and we validated this use, and we used these LIA pedals and MTF charts to validate, and we published our work on recording in IJO, and our work has also been acknowledged in Survey of Ophthalmology. And thank you all for your patient hearing. Thank you.
So all this requires hard work and exact focusing, and lots of final products which we see, a lot of effort goes into it for getting the final nuances. One term which I would like to say is the parfocality. So though there may be many users of in the same OT, so the eyepieces should be set at 0, and then switch over to the maximum magnification possible in that microscope, and then you do that barcode focusing that he's shown, and then with that barcode focusing done, or whatever focusing done at the maximum magnification, then you can zoom out and do whatever you want. That everything will be in focus.
Even when you are focusing, first bring the microscope up. That means you should focus it down, not down up. That means if you are focusing on that barcode, your focus first should be above the barcode, and then go down till it becomes completely in focus. This is particularly for younger people, like those who can accommodate. This is to relax your accommodation. Otherwise, if you do other way, what happens? You might be accommodating to keep it in focus, and then during surgery it will be out of focus sometimes. So always focus it down for achieving that parafocality.
Now over to Dr. Deepak Megur. He needs no introduction. He will be talking about the video editing and the video color.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. And mine is going to be because I've been asked to speak on video editing as far as but it's going to be a very long topic and highly technical. I like to be restricted because I'm not sure how many of you are going to understand what I'm trying to tell here, and trying to be as brief as possible. The idea is probably you'll get inspired and start learning on your own, because these are all, you have to have the inner motivation. There's nothing like, everything is ready-made for you and it'll just come on a platter. And for that, I think basic knowledge about photography is must. You should be passionate about it. Then only you're going to figure it out. Otherwise, it's just not possible. You may have the best of the most costliest equipment with you, but still the image won't be doing good. So let us try to understand some exposure issues which most commonly we see in the videos, So some of the videos are already there in my YouTube channel. If you can go and check it out for much more details, it will be there. So just type in video editing basics and it will be there. So, this is how usually a video will come like this. Most of the times, which I feel is video comes. The basic issue here is this is an overexposed video. You need to learn to look at the scopes, okay? So each video editing software will have something called as scopes. It's just basically a way to read the amount of light which is hitting the sensor. So we have to know it has different values, and what each of them stop. This scope is called as a parade. It's called a parade. So it's basically red, green, blue light channels are there. These are the scopes. And this tells your story about the amount of light which is hitting your sensor. So basically, the white part, everything is overexposed as is shown by this area. Now these are all shot up above the expected margin, which the normal eye can decipher. Everything is shot up. So this is what is your scopes, and you need to be, it gets a fair idea. In fact, you can read the amount of exposure it has had. So basically everything is gone up here. So you need to understand, and this can be corrected to a certain degree in the post. The right hand side we call as a waveform graph. This is the RGB correct. So can we do it in correction? Can we reduce this exposure and make it more visibly attractive? Little bit, it can be done little bit. You have to go down, and you have the sections where to decrease the amount of exposure which is there. You can do that manually and get it to some shape. But still, this is not the most ideal way to do it, but this is the last ditch effort which you can make it, okay? So you can try to reduce the exposure of the individual components of the field of view, and then you can do it. So this is what we learned as overexposure. There are two components. Ideal exposure is the ideal one, overexposure or underexposure. Overexposure is the one which is more difficult for us to get back the details of. And there is one thing which I'd like to just stop here and, it's okay. So this was before your editing, and after editing you pulled back. What we call these are the highlight zones. This is the upper limit of the graph is the highlight. Lower limit is the shadow. And if what is cut, it is being the upper limit is being cut. The highlights are being cut. So you drag them down. The same image after color correction, it looks like this. The graph looks like this. So this is what would be after your video editing. So let us look at the underexposed video. This is how an underexposed video would look like. This is how an underexposed video would look like. Everything would be dim, dark. Basically, the light exposure, light hitting the sensor is less. Now let us look at all the graphs which you are seeing here, okay? Let me just show you the graph, This is the parade. Everything is compressed down. Everything is compressed down, just opposite the graph which we just saw. So this is clearly an indication that this is not the right amount of exposure which was given to the sensor. So lot of empty spaces above the graph which you are seeing suggests it's severely underexposed graph. Again, you have tools to rescue out. You lift up the exposure. You can correct it to a little bit, not always. But you can still salvage some quality of the image, provided you have got decent strength in the file which is there. So as Dr. Raju was telling, it is always better to shoot in highest quality, because if you want to edit it and rescue some of the footage, it is always possible to do it only if the original file has some strength here. So you can just see now, this is what the end result of the image is, and look at the graphs. So this is the graph after the your color correction. This was how the graph is. So this is what we could get the best out of this image. So it is mandatory that we learn this. Now this is a perfectly exposed video. This is the perfectly exposed video. You can see the white are not overexposed. The iris is not underexposed. And let's look at the scopes, how the scopes look here. So look at the RGB parade here. You can see that the red, green and all of them are evenly exposed. None of them is clipping. What we call as the highlights are not clipping here. And the shadows are also in sync. This is how a graph of a perfectly exposed video would look like. So, and there's nothing much to do here. You can still make it look marginally better. But 80% of the job is done at acquisition. Only 15% you can make it look more better. So spend your more time in having a good exposure. So you can zoom in and see whether there is any part of it is overexposed or not. And this is how it would look. So another example, the white cataracts. White cataracts are probably the easiest one. To photograph, because the light which is gone into the sensor is much more higher. But you have an immature cortical cataract, that is probably the worst one to photograph. So I just want to show you the difference probably which is there. See, if you ask me what is more important, the resolution or the exposure is probably more important. Exposure focusing is more important than just going in for a 4K or a 8K. But 4K and the higher, they do have a role if you want to crop in, and the sharpness is definitely visible. So this is just to show you how 720p would compare with a 4K or a full HD. If you look at the smartphone, everything would be same. But when you blow it up on a screen, the difference would be very visible. The difference would be very visible. So, see, even the 720p is not so bad. Actually speaking, it is not so bad. The reason is the exposure and the focus is nailed right in. So, actually, my hero in the video capture was Robert Stegman. He is a South African surgeon, and you know what? I saw one of his videos in one of the conferences in ASCRS, and it was mind-blowing. All of them were shot 20 years back, 15 years back, and then I realized that resolution might not be the most important thing. The amount of light which gets into the sensor, and that is exposed properly, that will be the most important thing. So that made me realize that you have to spend more time actually in this. So this 4K HD is all actually, his non-HD footage were much more sharper than the HD footages. It was just like, even if you see some of the 60s production Hollywood films, they're very sharp. So that is the thing. Just to summarize, I'll just take 5 minutes now. So why do we record videos, surgeries? You know, the only answer is to be a better surgeon. There's nothing else. Conference teaching and all is bullshit. If you want to be a better surgeon, start looking at your videos. And if your recordings are good, you feel like looking at them much better and you learn better. That should be the only reason why you should record your videos. And unfortunately, great surgery is often judged by this. I think this part I covered. So the bottom line is 80% of the quality is decided at capture. So you spend your time in capturing. So the editing masala is only helps in last 15-20%. It won't help in other things. So this is important. Capture the image in the best possible quality which you can afford. Affording, because these files are gigantic and they will guzzle off your money like anything. So my monthly investment for this is 27 rupees, because every time 5 TB hard disk is over, if you want to keep on saving them and other things. So that is guzzling. And this is what I want to, bit depth and color subsampling. If try to record in the highest possible numbers which you get, 4.2 to 10 bit is probably the best bet which you can have. What I was saying, strength of the footage for you to play with it, edit it and all. 8 bit is okay, but not so great. This is my setting which I use, and I use ISO auto setting. Its manual is too cumbersome, you can't change it. So bottom line, focus, centration and exposure. These are the three, main areas where one has to focus to get a good image, and that is mandatory. Everything else is bullshit, you know. The cameras, if you can able to get this, even a small camera also can do the job well. And I think this is my editing setup. Of course, because your footage is of high quality, you may have to spend more time on the machine which you have. With that, thank you so much for the invitation and attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Megur, for your beautiful insight. I don't know how much we would be able to do this ourselves, but hats off to you, being a surgeon of that caliber and also doing editing of this order. So if somebody is not doing a DaVinci Resolve, do you have any shortcut way? Some auto way or an AI way?
So DaVinci Resolve is free. So those who don't know, DaVinci Resolve is absolutely free.
You have to know it. It's not about the money. Anyway, this is John here telling us about how...
Yes, sir.
He will be enlightening us about what you can do with your smartphone.
Okay. So I'm Dr. John Davis Akra. I'll quickly go over how to use a smartphone for recording. Okay. Financial disclosures, nothing interesting here. So why click photos? It is for documentation, all of you know that. And why click photos with a smartphone? It's because the best camera is the one that is with you, that you can afford. If you cannot afford a 4K 3D recording system, or even 8K or 16K, whatever, then don't think about it. Whatever you have, you use. So at the slit lamp microscope, if you have just your phone with you, even a very mid-range phone, Android, doesn't have to be iPhone. Just because you're capturing a picture of the eye doesn't mean you have to have an iPhone, okay? You can have Android phone, and you can take good photos with that, good videos with that. You can take good videos of gonioscopy, even fundus, using your smartphone. And mind you, most of these photos were taken with OnePlus 3T. The current version of OnePlus is 15 or something. So that many versions back. So you can get very, very good photographs. These are all taken with the phone, okay? Gonioscopy and fundus, everything. And if you want to take videos, you can use the adapter which holds the phone in front of the eyepiece and record good videos. And like everybody said, like Deepak Megur sir said, it's all about the lighting and the focus, the exposure, all those things. You don't have to have the best resolution. You just have to adjust the light and focus correctly. It's all a play of light and shadows. And you can get very good photographs. You need to know what you're shooting. It doesn't matter what camera you have. It is the technique of how we are shooting, what you're shooting, what is it that you want to show. So in this particular thing, I wanted to show this. I wanted to show the retroillumination of the PI. This is not in focus over here, but this is what is in focus. Here, this, if you see, the iris is out of focus because I am focusing on the cornea, on the endothelium of the cornea. So that is what, focus and illumination. You can use many different adapters. So the most common adapter I use is this one. This is there on Amazon for, it ranges from 300 to 500 rupees. So it's that cheap. So for a slit lamp microscope, you put the phone in this, put the adapter onto the eyepiece of the slit lamp, you can capture beautiful photographs and videos. For photographs, I don't even use the adapter, I just use the hand directly, bare-handed. And you can use this on a observer scope of a camera, of the, microscope, if you do have an observer scope. If you don't have an observer scope, you will need to have a different attachment. I'll show you that later. But these are all, so this is in Arvind Pondicherry where we had observer scope for the trainees. So we used it to record that. If you look here, there is a Sony 3CCD camera here, but the one captured with this OnePlus 3T phone over here was better quality than the one from that. So this is available, and this is a video. So I will not show you the video, it is there on YouTube. Just go to YouTube. I show how to use the bare-handed. I'll just quickly tell you the technique. There should be a small gap between the lens of the slit lamp and the lens of the phone, and I hold it horizontally, okay? And I use the app Open Camera. That's all. That's the entire thing. And if you need videos, use the adapter, and all the settings have already been explained about the focus, exposure, ISO, all those things. In your phone, you can leave most of it on auto. Make sure you turn off all the AI settings. Otherwise, your photo will take, your camera will take a picture of the eye and then, auto correct it to remove all the corneal ulcers, epithelial defects, and make a pristine cornea. We don't want that, okay? So use Open Camera app. It doesn't add any AI to it, so you can use that. Again, same thing. Settings are what are more important than resolution. And know what you're capturing. So if you're looking for vitreous, make sure you adjust the light accordingly to get darkness behind what you're trying to capture. So if you see here, there is a shadow behind the pigments in the vitreous. That is why I can capture it. If the light was too wide, I couldn't capture it. Okay, so slits, adjust the slit, touch to focus, long press, adjust the exposure down to get the focus right. And if you see here, you can see there is a hypermature Morgagnonian cataract. This is again focus. So all of these focus is possible because you adjusted the focus, adjusted the exposure by long pressing and up and down the exposure. And I will go to what you want to capture, you crop to that. So even in photos or videos, you crop to what you want to show. Editing is also important, okay? And yeah, even here, focus on the cornea here, not on the iris. So adjust the focus Here also there is a decimeter, yeah, you can see it. So focus and illumination. The light is angled away to get darkness behind this. Okay, that is how you do it. And see, it's a game of shadows. Same eye, light is just adjusted a little bit. You can see the fishtail of the PPC. You cannot see it here, but when you adjust the light a little bit, you can see the fishtail of the PPC into the vitreous. So it's game of shadows. Traumatic cataract, anterior subluxated lens, corneal endothelium also you can capture. So with the phone it's a little difficult, but yes, you can. And I think Dr. Raju had taken this picture, or Dr. Deepak, I don't remember, but you can take good endothelium pictures also. This is with the DSLR, but you can take that also. Okay, gonioscopy, I'm not going to go further into this, but all this is with the adapter. And you can take good videos also. You can see the sparkling lens material floating in the anterior chamber. You can see the aqueous floating, pigments floating in the aqueous. Fundus, I use for the slit lamp, I use the adapter. Or you can use a 20 diopter lens and use the monocular indirect method. That is also there on the YouTube channel if you want to know more. And here Weiss ring is seen because again shadow, so angle the light, shadow behind. Okay, same thing, it's the lighting. And yes, this is with the 20 diopter lens, monocular indirect method. It's a little cumbersome, but once you get the hang of it, you can take bare-handed fundus photos. 20D lens, your phone, your hand becomes the smartphone fundus camera. If not, you can get one of these smartphone fundus camera adapters. That makes it little easier. And you cannot capture video fundus with any fundus camera. So only with a smartphone you can capture video fundus. So both left and right, same patient, sitting position, supine position. Supine position, you can see the shifting fluid causing an exudative RD visible over here. Okay, so that is not possible with a regular fundus camera. Then I think I will skip all these things. So 3D is possible in ophthalmology. I made a 3D atlas of ophthalmology, again available in the Play Store. And you can use 3D cameras also. Dr. Raju Sampanki, everybody here are experts. So they have all done their own 3D devices and capture devices. So please visit all of our YouTube channels. This is a splitter. So you can use this sort of device also to capture 3D videos. And to capture 3D videos, you will basically need recording from both the eyepiece tubes. So that is how that is done. And